This episode features your mom's favorite cowboy, Rocker Steiner. This guy has lived one heck of a life. Dropped out of school in the fourth grade, went to wakeboarding school, became a wakeboarding world champion at 13, decided he needed another challenge. Here comes bareback horse riding. Goes on a 5-year training program without competing that Ty Murray put together for him. Comes out at 18 years old, qualifies for his first 2 NFRs, and he is just an absolute beast. You're going to enjoy this one. Man, do you hear that? Look at here. They're coming. They're coming. We're going to have a party. I'm talking good on barbecue. Hey guys, welcome to the Old Boy Podcast, and I am super excited about this upcoming discussion with Rocker Steiner. So we're going to be talking a little bareback horse riding, and I love this guy because he has awesome energy. To me, when someone can be a bit of a disruptor in an industry and in a good way, I like it. I think it brings new blood, new eyes, new things to something that's been around for a long time. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and just life in general and some of the obstacles that Rocker's faced and what the future looks like. So, Rocker, thanks for joining us, bud.
Thank you for having me.
So in kind of doing my research for our discussion, one of the things, being a guy that grew up in Florida, you know, I love the water, grew up around the water. Seems like you had a lot of that same passion, you know, so way before we start talking about you personally getting into rodeo, you enjoyed wakeboarding and being out on the water. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so my dad was a wakeboarder. You know, when wakeboard was just kind of getting started, you know, it was really scurfing, and so he was doing that and steer wrestling, and you know he really didn't know what he wanted to do. So he said that one time he entered a rodeo and a wakeboard contest the same day or the same weekend, and whatever he did better at was what he was going to do, and thankfully he was better at bulldogging. And then I always grew up wakeboarding in between his legs when I was a little kid, and I loved it. And I found out that you can get sponsors and go to contests. And I was 7 years old. I was like, sign me up, a sponsor. That sounds sick. I was like, I get a pack of stickers and a free board. That sounds amazing. So I spent a lot of time in Orlando, Florida, with a lot of great people. And I didn't wakeboard for a real long time. I kind of stopped when I was I went from like 7 to 14 competing, and I won the world when I was 9. And the best part about it was I pulled a few really good friends out of that sport, and that was probably the best thing about wakeboarding.
Wow, you won the worlds at 9. That is crazy. And you trained in Orlando. So I grew up and live in Lakeland, which is like 45 minutes from Orlando. So did you train at that cool ass facility that like has all the automated, like the line?
Yeah, OWC.
Yeah.
OWC, yeah. So that was where pretty much all the contests were. So they have a cable lake, and I was never
Cable Lake.
I never spent too much time on a cable. I mean, I rode cable quite a bit, but I never competed in cable very much. I really wasn't very good at it. But that lake that they have at OWC is where all the contests were. So I was on that lake pretty much, once or twice a month competing.
Tell me the difference in that. Tell me the difference in trying to, wakeboard on cable versus just straight up boat.
Well, I mean, it's just, it's kind of hard to explain. I mean, the easiest way to explain it is, one, you're being pulled by a boat and you're having to use a natural wake to do tricks. So, I mean, you're kind of relying on all the pop to be on you, like how high you go. And then cable, you're hitting features which are different styles and rails and, different kickers. And there's like a lot more you can do with cable, I would say, like a lot more versatility. Like, there's guys now that are doing double flips onto rails, like just some crazy shit that is insane now. When wakeboarding, I mean, everything's gotten so good. I mean, a kid I was competing against when I was a kid was in my age group, Thomas Herman, just landed the first triple flip ever off of a wake. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's so nuts. But and it's cool to see the kids that I was competing against are doing stuff like that. I've been away from wakeboarding for a long time, and but it's cool to see those guys doing that kind of stuff. But yeah, cable and boat were just completely different. Like it's even in personalities.
Yeah.
like if you go to X Games, like you have like you have the skater kids that got dropped off by their parents at a skate park, and just kind of hood rats. That's kind of what cable was. And boat riders were the guys that were wanting to go out and party on the lake and wakeboard.
And pick up chicks, like look at this
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to pick up some chicks, you're not going to take them to the cable park. You're going to take them on the boat and feed them some alcohol.
No, that's actually a great way of putting it. And it's cool you kind of brought up, your dad was wakeboarding kind of before wakeboarding was a thing or was cool. So growing up where I grew up, we had a place called Cypress Gardens over in Winter Haven, and Cypress Gardens is like the water ski capital. Like, but it was interesting because we grew up so much about water skiing, but then on that same chain of lakes where Cypress Gardens was, you'd start going out and you're like, dude, what are these guys doing? Like, what? Cause, we did a lot of skimboarding, so for us, it's like, dude, they kind of
Home of the Boniface.
Yeah, absolutely. So they kind of took a skimboard, but then like they're doing this with it, so that's interesting. And I love the story about your dad picking one weekend and going, okay, I'm going to go wrestle steer and I'm going to go wakeboard. And whichever one I'm best at, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. And then for him to become a world champion, that's awesome. And your grandfather was a world champion in bull riding, correct?
Yes, sir.
And dude, I still hear like in his 70s, he's still like jacked as fuck.
Dude, he is insane. He's fucking wild. Dude, so have you ever heard of Tim Kennedy, Green Beret? So him and my uncle are best friends.
Oh, no kidding.
Their workout, like, they go crazy for working out. They work out every day, and they're nuts about it. I mean, I've worked out with them a lot, and it is brutal. Well, I saw this guy on like YouTube or whatever, and he was a boxer or something, and he served like 3 or 4 years or whatever. Well, he came back out of prison and won the title. Well, they're like, how did you stay in shape in the gym or in prison? And he's like, I got to where I could do 1,500 push-ups in an hour. And I told my baba when he was like 68 years old. Well, he did like 1,650 push-ups in an hour. Well, then my uncle and Tim do 1,700 push-ups in an hour and beat him. Well, they tell him, and by this time he's 72, 71 years old. He does 1,750 push-ups in an hour.
Holy smokes,
dude! I don't know if I've done that many push-ups in a month.
No kidding.
And I work out pretty often.
And to think about it like that, and that's also a guy that was riding bulls back in the 70s, and they weren't on like any kind of training or program like you guys are now. Their program was like, let me go ride, let me crush some cold beers, let me get in the truck and go on down the road. Like, they weren't worried about ice baths and saunas and all the stuff that's available now. But and to still have his body in that kind of shape to do that kind of stuff in his 70s, wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, he's an animal. He stays on my ass about working out pretty hard.
and it sounds like you don't want to back talk, and that just sounds like one of those where yes sir, I'm on it. I'll get moving.
Well, it also pisses me off. Like, we'll be going on the boat with some damn girls or something, and Bobo will ride by in his damn mule with no shirt on and a good tan, and I'm like, you motherfucker.
You're like, all I can tell him is, hey, I came from that. Like that. Some of that's in here.
Yeah. Hey, I'm the next best thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
man.
But yeah, they'll be like, who is that? Is that your dad? And I'm like, no, that's my granddad.
Too funny. So do you still like to spend some time on the lake during your downtime? Is that one of your places to just kind of relax, recharge, and kick it with your boys and girls?
Oh yeah, I mean, I love the lake. Going on the boat with the boys is one of the best things I can think of. I don't wakeboard as much as I want to, mainly because there's so many knee injuries and guys are blowing out their ACLs left and right.
Yeah.
And I'm doing pretty good where I am, and if I blew my knee out right now, it'd be terrible. My dad would probably kill me. So yeah. I don't wakeboard anymore just because of that. I would love to go out there and ride with my boys, but it's just something I can't do anymore.
Well, and the thing about that too is, it's not like that's done forever. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, for sure.
You can pick that up when this ride's over. Pun intended, I guess, for doing a rodeo podcast.
Yeah.
But
yeah, for sure.
But no, and that's. Do you still like? You were talking about some of your guys you rode with. Like, if I were to look through your Instagram, it's like, would wakeboarding come up every, 10, 12 scrolls? Like, do you follow your boys on social, or is it mostly just all rodeo stuff as far as
Oh
what you
yeah, I
consume?
mean, I still follow all the same guys. I mean, I still look into it. I still, I don't watch contests anymore.
Yeah.
But whenever my friends post videos, I mean, I always like them and comment on them, and I enjoy watching wakeboarding still. I mean, Massey Pifferetti, Thomas Herman, Corey Tudison, Harley Clifford. I mean, I watch all the same guys I did whenever I was young.
And that's cool because that's something you should, I always tell people, when you're going through this life and you get to do some extraordinary stuff, you kind of need to step back and have some small celebrations and, to think about for being 20 years old that you've had an impact in two worlds and industries where you'll be remembered. You know what I mean? Like that's a feat you should give yourself a little pat on the back about. And I know you're just getting started, but still, that's pretty significant accomplishment for, a young man your age.
Mm-hmm. I think I could bring more eyes to wakeboarding, not wakeboarding, than I can with wakeboarding.
Mm-hmm.
I stepped back and I got into an industry that's a bit bigger than wakeboarding. When you're in wakeboarding, you think it's pretty big, which it's not.
Yeah.
And in wakeboard or bareback riding and rodeo is the same way. I mean, I think it's pretty big, but really it's not. So I mean, I think now I could, if I ever decided to get back into wakeboarding, I could bring a lot more eyes to that sport than I could if I just was a wakeboarder.
Well, and I think too, in talking about bringing eyes to the sport, and I kind of mentioned this in the intro, and we'll get into your history about how you got into riding and all that stuff. But like, to me, I look at it as like, you just hit on it, like bareback riding. It's got a following, but it could be bigger. So I look at someone like you, good looking kid, ton of energy, to me, doing it the right way. I mean, just because you're doing it a different way doesn't make it a wrong way. And sometimes I feel like some of these industries that have just kind of been there, when you get that right personality and that right person, you can bring so many eyes to it. You know what I mean? And that high tide's going to raise all boats. So now we're talking about getting more people in the industry, which increases paydays and all those things that make the world go round and make it a better place. But at the same time, when you're that person that is that catalyst, man, it has to feel great at times, but so frustrating at others because you kind of feel like you're pushing that rope uphill.
Oh yeah, I want to be different. It's not that I'm trying to be different. I just am naturally. Yep. And sometimes I think it helps me, and sometimes I really think it hurts me. But I'd rather it hurt me 50% of the time than be exactly who they want me to be, and that's nothing that I am. I mean, the person that the rodeo world wants to shape you to be is nothing that I am, and I'm not gonna fall for it.
Well, and that takes some pretty strong conviction. And growing up, my parents and grandparents were always be authentic and be memorable. And that's two places where I've tried to live my life that way. Like, regardless of what you do, give it 110%, learn it as quick as you can. And if it's worth going after, go all in, go after it. You know what I mean? Don't be half-ass into this, half-ass into that. Find a lane, dedicate to that lane, and fucking haul ass till you break something.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good way to live right there.
Yeah, no, and once again, like when you can just be yourself and be authentic, you don't have to remember any stories, old boy. Just wake up and go back after it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I would way rather be the guy that's remembered for never really giving a shit what people think and just doing it my way or no way than, be a 6-time world champion. Because, if somebody goes, yeah, he won 6 world titles, but, he was fake as fuck.
Yeah.
I'd be like, that doesn't sit right with me.
Or you see so many guys that get into it and just become like robots for their sponsors, right? They get up these 4 or 5 big brands, and the big brands say, you got to behave this way, you got to behave that way. And, and I feel like any brand that does that to somebody is taking their marketing totally different. Like, if you sign somebody to be part of your brand, you're signing that person, that personality, what they bring to the table. Trying to change who they are or change the way they say or talk about things, I feel is a complete waste of resources and a detriment to whoever that person is you're working with.
Yeah, it's like a damn marriage. Hey, you married me. You're not marrying this guy that you're trying to make me be,
Exactly. I think that's a great analogy. Is that something you pay attention to? Because obviously, as you're getting more opportunities, there's more sponsors. But I would feel like you being just an authentic guy, like number one on your list has to be brand fit. Like, does this fit Rocker? And and my family and what we stand for.
Yeah, so I mean, I have great sponsors. Boot Barn and Bucked Up are my biggest sponsors, and I have Capri Campers, and my sponsors are perfect for me. They want me to be me, and if there's ever a time where I get in some trouble or I do something that's a little shady, they're always like, "Hey, we're with you."
Yeah.
No matter what. So just keep winning and keep being you, and we're right by you. And I'm like, oh my God, I love you guys.
Proud sponsor of the show, Old Boy Apparel. When myself and Tim Montana started building this brand several years ago, we just wanted something that brought together all those people with that hard work ethic, that grit. Whether you be a musician, whether you're slinging barbecue, or just one of those blue-collar trades folks, we got an opportunity to partner up with Trollco, and we are really, really enjoying it. Go check out the apparel at trollcoclothing.com. Search Old Boy Apparel, and feel free to use my discount code OldBoyPodcast for 15% off. Well, what I thought was cool about the Bucked Up partnership, for sure, because I could kind of see it in looking at your socials, kind of preparing for our discussion, is you were a guy that was using that product before you were on the ambassador team.
Yeah, I was using that product when I was 14 years old.
Yeah.
Which is not probably healthy, but I was using it.
But that's what I try to tell people is it's a lot easier to get a deal if you're an actual fan of the product and you use it and it's giving you results. You know what I mean? Like, that's true testimony, not just, hey, I'm taking a paycheck. Look at what I got in my hand today.
Yeah, exactly. And whenever I signed with so Rank 45 is a new line off of Boot Barn, and it wasn't it. I was the first guy on the team, and it was I was on the team before it dropped, so I'm really more a part of it. It's not like I've been using it forever because it was around. I actually get to have a part in making it what I want. Like the pants, I'm always giving them like how I tailor my pants, and they're all the time asking me like what I want to do. So everything. Like Bucked Up, I was using it when I was 14 because it was around. Rank 45, it wasn't around, so I feel like I have a little part in it, which is awesome.
Yeah, no, that is a cool, empowering feeling. I remember when I was first started working at Traeger, and we were designing a grill, and we sat down with a blank sheet of paper, and we were like, okay, well, we want this grill to do this, this, and this, and actually to be able to be at the table and have some input and say, okay, well, and this is for any Traeger folks that are listening, this is the original Timberline, the high-end grill that we ended up building, that's now on its third iteration. But it was cool, and you felt like you're part of it, right? Because then you see that final product, and you're like, oh, man, that was my idea. That's pretty cool. You know what I mean? Like, but then it also makes it so much easier for you to be an advocate of it, right? Because you've been part of the process from the beginning. You can describe everything. Like, you've got ownership in that, and there's a piece of you a part of it.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of hard for me to style clothes because I got to think about all the shit that normal people wouldn't wear. I'm like, I want a studded leather jacket with a skull on it.
Yep. Yeah, no, I think that's one of the things. In looking at this, I was like, as a guy that's known for always wearing crazy shorts and outlandish outfits, I feel like me and Rocker are going to get along just fine because your sense and style too is kind of like one of those. I had to go. I've got an ambassador deal here with our tourism board across the state, and they invited me to come to judge a beauty pageant a couple months ago, and it said you have to wear a suit. And I'm like, man, and I haven't, like, I used to sell software back in the day when I was doing barbecue, like, part-time moonlighting, taking all my vacation doing barbecue comps. I sold software. And, dude, the day that I went barbecue full-time, 100% of my money that I make in life was coming from barbecue. I took every fucking blazer, pair of khaki pants. I burned a couple of them symbolically. I donated the rest to Goodwill, so some other heavyset guy that was getting into corporate business could have some cheap outfits. But there was something that day where I said, I'm not wearing any of this monkey suit shit again. And so when they asked like to do a suit, I'm like, shit, what am I going to wear? And thank goodness during COVID, Traeger had asked me to host a bunch of these like videos with are kind of discussions with athletes and this and that. And they're like, we want it to be kind of a sports center setting, like a news desk. So we want you to wear a suit. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to wear a suit, I'm going to wear my style suit. So I bought like 6 of these suits that are just super outlandish from Shinesty. And I had a couple of those in the closet, and I'm like, all right, which one of these am I going to wear? And so I found one that has a bunch of tulips and flowers on it, and I said, this would be perfect for judge. It makes me soft and approachable as a beauty pageant judge, but also lets me express my style. So why the hell not do it?
Yeah.
But then you walk in, and obviously no one at a beauty pageant's ever seen anybody dressed like this. And you can either feel really uncomfortable, or I just felt kind of right at home, like this is what I do. Like
Embrace it.
I've got no problem that 20 people are staring at me going, what the fuck is this guy doing here? Like, awesome, I picked the right crowd. Let's go make some fans today. Let's go shake some hands. You know, but it's also a great way to have conversations with people you probably would have never conversed with. You know what I mean? Just because at that point they're going, I'll walk up to this guy. He obviously doesn't give a shit about talking if he's willing to wear that, you know?
No shit. Yeah, that's what I think. I mean,
yeah.
Whenever I was at the finals and I was wearing, crazy ass clothes, I mean, people that weren't even there for the rodeo were like, hey, what do you do? I'm like, I rodeo. And they're like, there's a rodeo in town? I'm like, dude, do you not see everybody that's wearing a cowboy hat right now?
But then they walk away and they're like, dude, fucking rodeo's getting cool. Like, I got rodeos? Like, that's badass.
I can't tell you how many times I've been like walking around an airport or, wherever, and they're like, are you in a band? And I'm like, yeah, I am. And they're like, what kind of band is that? I'm like, Motley Crue cover band.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I am.
Oh, I love it. Because you do kind of have that rocker look to you, which is great. Yeah, Motley Crue cover.
Yeah, me and my dad walk around, and they think that my dad's my brother and that we're in a band. And I'm always like, yeah, we're in a band.
Oh, my gosh. That is so hilarious.
I was just telling my dad's a sound guy.
Oh, so you're having fun with it. I love that, Rocker. One of the things I did want to talk about is kind of how you got. I know you were doing the wakeboarding, and then you decided you wanted to get into bareback. Like, and I've kind of heard you say the story of, well, Dad wrestled steers, and I'm definitely not big enough for that. And Grandma said I couldn't ride bulls like Grandpa, so you really had no like, oh man, I just want to be a bareback rider. It's like, okay, well, process of elimination. This is the discipline I'm going to learn. Is that pretty accurate?
Oh yeah, I mean, you got to think about, you got to take opportunities when they're in front of your face. I mean, whenever I got into wakeboarding, my dad had a few friends that were, wakeboarders, Kobe Mikasich, and that's who I trained with, and I took an opportunity because he was friends with my dad, and that's something I wanted to do, so I took that opportunity. And then, whenever I decided I didn't really want to wakeboard anymore, I was looking at really anything else. And then I realized I was like, all my granddad's friends are old bareback riders and bull riders, and my dad, I mean, he's really good friends with Ty Murray. He was a great bareback rider, and I had all these opportunities that I was thinking about, and I was like, well, if I have an opportunity to learn from the greatest cowboys in the world, why wouldn't I take this opportunity to learn? Yeah. And so, it wasn't like that's what I wanted to do from the time I was a little kid. It was an opportunity that I saw, and I fucking took it.
I love it.
And the first guy I went to learn to ride bareback horses was Ty Murray, and without him, I would be nothing right now. So I mean, I'm glad I took the opportunity.
What's amazing to me is just what I know about Ty Murray is what every other fan out there knows. Complete legend, but literally, in the last 5 days of doing and planning for podcast, I had Zeke Thurston on the other day that could do nothing but sing Ty Murray's praises and how influential he was on his career. We've got you saying the same thing. Talking to Tim O'Connell next, which also says, dude, Ty Murray, huge hero. Like, think about, I mean, just that, like the impact that guy's had on rodeo is unreal. You know what I mean? I mean, that's 3 bangers I just put out that top of each one of their list is Ty Murray.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about Ty. I mean, when he was in like the first grade, the teacher asked what's your goal for life, and he said to beat Larry Mahan's record. I mean, when he was in first grade, I mean, can you imagine that?
That's driven. That is driven.
I mean, the guy's insane. I mean, what he did was something that I mean, I could see Stetson doing it, but I mean, other than that, it's pretty impossible.
No,
But
it's
he was doing all three events. Stetson's just doing two, so that's another thing. Is like it probably will never be done again. All three events.
no. I mean, I just to be able to do that at any kind of pace. I mean, the training in your body and just not catching too many bad breaks either. You know what I mean? Like things have to line up, and you got to be a tough son of a bitch to do that. God dang.
Yeah, and Ty was also was having shoulder surgeries and knee surgeries, and he was sitting out for a year at a time, and then going back and winning one, and then being hurt and going into surgery, sitting out a year. I mean, there was a lot of diversity. Whatever word I was trying to say right there. There's a lot of shit that was going on with Ty.
Yes, yes. Adversity.
Yeah, adversity.
There we go.
Sorry, I'm a fourth grade dropout.
Hey, I ain't here to judge. Literally, how much school did you go to? I know it wasn't fourth grade. I heard you did drop out.
I dropped out of fourth grade.
Are you shitting me?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that's fucking awesome. That's some rogue as shit. I love it. But at the same time, too, man, you were living a lifestyle. You have great parents. It wasn't like they, you weren't raised well. You know what I mean? I absolutely love that.
The thing about it is like I figured. I mean, I knew. I loved football. Whenever I was in first, second grade, I wanted to be a football player. That's what I wanted to do. And then third, fourth grade came around, and I was pretty much one of the smallest kids in my class. And I was like, I'm just not gonna be big enough to play football. I mean, I was a really good football player. I was big enough for Pop Warner because everybody was a bunch of weenies and didn't want to hit, and I did. And I was good, but I was like, I'm not gonna be able to compete in a college level. And I was like, screw football. I'm done with sports. Let's do something outside of that I need to go to school for. So my dad was like, if you're not gonna play sports, you're not gonna be a doctor or a lawyer. Let's just send you off to Orlando and learn how to wakeboard really good. And I was like, cool. And I was also in the principal's office freaking every week.
Yeah.
So it was like, school didn't make sense for me. I mean, I was ADHD. I didn't want to learn. And my dad was like, I think you can learn more from just hanging out with me and, learning a different trade. So I was like, fine with me.
But think about the Rocker, like, what a great parenting decision. You know what I mean? Like hey, this is not lining up to my boy's strengths, but this will. You know what I mean? Like, cause that's totally like go against the flow. Like, most parents would have beat your ass and said, nope, you need to go in there and keep your head down and get it done. But he's like, dude, he didn't want to. I always find it interesting, especially with unique personalities like yours, is like, you don't want to break that spirit. You know what I mean? Like the spirit of pursuit and just needing the direction on, that's where I need to point. You know what I mean? And now that I'm pointing that way, I'm not going to let a fucking thing get in my way. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And my dad always called me the experiment. He called me the experiment. And, he always told me, he's like, Rocker, I could be ruining your life. I don't know. And he's like, if he felt like I wasn't trying hard enough or, working hard enough, he would tell me, he's like, look, I pulled you out of school and you were an experiment. I could be ruining your life. So don't fucking let me down. And so I was like, all right, well, I have to be fucking really good at something. So I just always worked hard enough to not let my dad down and make him not seem like a dumbass. Well, go ahead. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, if I did go to school and I was a football player, I could have been a completely different person.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, that's amazing. And for him, when he did that, he made it a partnership, right? If I fail, you fail. If you fail, I fail. You know what I mean? Like, and the last thing anybody wants to do, especially when your dad took that big chance on you, that big experiment, if you will, the last thing you want to do is paint him in a corner. That's, I did not know that part of the story of it. That is really, really odd. Dropped out in the fourth grade and went and did your thing, and dad supported, made it happen. That's fucking awesome, Rocker. I love that.
Yeah, thank you. It was just always cool. Like, if one day my kids are, not into something, they don't know what they want to do. They like football or, whatever, and they just don't really have a path yet. Like, yeah, like high school, for sure. Go to school. But if they find something that, they love and it doesn't involve school, I don't think school's necessary.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you want to be, if you want to get into real estate, you don't have to go to school for real estate. I mean, it's just how it is.
Hmm.
But you know, I'm glad my dad, you know, didn't make me do something that I didn't need. It probably would have. I mean, it would have wasted, you know, a lot of time in my life where I, you know, instead of, you know, being out on the lake getting really good at wakeboarding, I would have been in the classroom. And you know, without him making that decision, I probably wouldn't be what I am.
Yeah, because even though they're so far apart, wakeboarding and bareback riding. I mean, one, I got to think some of the balance and control and some of the things you learn in wakeboarding, while different techniques, have to translate a touch over. But at the end of the day, too, like what you learned in going to school. As far as that, here's how hard you got to work to really to really be great at something. You know what I mean? And here's what the regiment has to look like. I mean, those have to all be things you pulled from wakeboarding over into bareback as you made that transition, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is commitment. Like if you're edging into the wake and you're not committed, you're gonna come up short, or you know, you're not gonna land a trick if you're not committed. You know, cutting in. So
Yeah.
I mean, if you're in the bucket shoes and you're not committed, it's not gonna go good.
Yeah. Then
So
we just need
commitment's
to
probably the biggest thing.
we just need to get off right now before this shit gets ugly.
Yeah, if you're not committed, just get the hell off and fake an injury.
Yeah. Save some face.
Yeah.
So when you do start training, you're 13, 14 years old. I mean, they can't just throw you on a regular old bucking horse. Like, so what do you start cutting your teeth on?
So I had a little bit different way of learning. Like
Okay.
if I was just a regular kid, you know, and I didn't my family wasn't in a rodeo. They didn't really know. Like I couldn't have gone about it the same way I did, because you know a normal kid's just gonna go to a high school rodeo or middle school rodeo or whatever it is, and get on bucking steers, and then go to high school and get on high school horses, and probably end up getting hurt a few times in high school rodeo, but. The thing that I did is, and I didn't want to do, I wanted to go to high school rodeo, which I wasn't in high school, so I don't know how I would have done that. Um, I want to do all the things the kids my age are doing, but, like Ty Murray falls back into place. He set a rule for me, and he made a game plan that, I was going to follow because it's Ty Murray. He was like, he told my dad, he's like, we're not going to send him to high school rodeos. We're not going to send him to amateur rodeos. We're going to get him good practice horses, and we're going to make him practice until he's 18. And so all I did for 5 years was practice.
Wow.
You got to think about that. And so all I was doing was practicing and thinking about, my 2022 season for 5 years. And, as soon as, and I followed the path, and it freaking worked. I've cracked out 2022 and made my first finals.
No, that I didn't think about that as the strategy, but and it kind of kept you fresh too, right? Like you were operating in this more controlled and regimented environment, but still like just doing it that way too, though, like, and not worried about running up down the roads. And it's not like the amount of time that you got in and the amount of rides had to be ridiculous compared to your counterparts.
Oh yeah, I mean, for probably 2 years, I was getting on twice a week, 5 horses a day.
Damn.
I mean, that's just how I did it, and obviously it slowed off. I only probably did that for a year or two.
Yeah.
And whenever I turned 50, because I was riding bucking horses when I was 13, 14, like no testosterone in me, not a hair anywhere on my body, and I didn't realize, because my dad always told me, hey, whenever you turn 16, 17, you're gonna get a lot fucking stronger. Like you're not gonna even recognize who you used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know. Well, one day, seriously, I just kind of started to realize how much stronger I was getting. And, whenever I figured out I was kind of in that stage of hitting puberty, I made sure I worked 10 times harder to get as strong as I possibly could while I can.
Yep.
And, that's when things started to click. Like I always thought I sucked and I wasn't that good. But whenever I started getting some, hair under my arm, it was a whole new animal. That's when I started figuring out.
It's amazing what them hormones do, old boy.
Yeah. So I mean, if I was just a kid starting out and I didn't have really good practice horses, I would not start riding before I was 16.
That makes sense. Not until you've got that testosterone, till you've kind of got that strength to be able to handle it.
Oh yeah, I mean, little kids come up to me saying they bought a rig and they want to know where to go get on horses, and I'm like, hey dude, like, I was like, as much as I want you to get on bareback horses right now, please don't.
Let's pump the brakes.
Because I'm like, look, build a spur board, get on that, and if you want to go ride steers, go ride bucket steers, start getting on, little bulls or something. But hold off on the bareback horses right now, because once you're tied in, and you're not coming off.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. So how does that feel then when you've been looking forward for 5 years to finally getting to go out and compete? Obviously, I'm sure you remember what event it was, where it was, like how did that feel as you're approaching that first event?
Man, I mean, I was as soon as I turned 18, on my birthday, I entered my first rodeo.
I love it.
And it was like it was like somebody just shot crack into my veins whenever I, entered a rodeo. I mean, it's just buying my card, getting my first card, and then starting driving to my first rodeo. It was everything I wanted for 5 years. I mean, you got to think like it's like a boxer hitting a heavy bag for 5 years.
Yeah.
Like the first guy that gets in that damn ring with him is fucked. It's just.
Yeah.
The amount of anger I had towards a bucking horse that had a PRCA number on it. It was over.
I love it.
I went to my first rodeo in Des Moines, Iowa, and I got on I can't even remember this horse's name, but it wasn't very good. But I think I was like 78 points or something, but I was fired up. And it was cool because like so many people were watching me. Like I still had such a big following when I was 15, 16, 17, that I had this big buildup of like, when's his first rodeo? And I went to my first rodeo, and there's people posting like, we've got to witness Rocker's first rodeo. And I was like, this is badass.
Hell yeah.
And, everything's perfect. And then, I went to Odessa and got on a horse called Ghost Town, which little did I know was going to be one of the rankest horses in the world. And I won that rodeo, drove to Denver, won Denver too. And then I got into Houston, and I went and won second in Houston. But if I didn't wait 5 years, and I was just going to high school rodeos, I wouldn't have been the same guy as I was.
God, when you look back at it, 5 years is a long time to wait. But, damn, you look back at it, it was worth it. It's so worth it.
Oh, I would never do it any other way. And whenever I was wakeboarding, I took so many shortcuts. I was doing a tantrum, which is a backflip, before I could even do an ollie 180.
Wow.
In the flats.
Yeah.
I was doing stuff that I skipped so many steps just to win contests. And bareback riding, I did literally everything perfect.
Dude.
And it wasn't my idea.
Yeah.
And that's what I said. I'm glad I took that timer. It was just an opportunity that I took. I saw an opportunity in front of me, and I took it because he was going to have a plan like that to make me successful. And so
that's amazing.
If I didn't follow him, it would have been bad.
Yeah, well, people get brought in their life for certain reasons, old boy, and Ty was obviously part of yours and your family's for a really important one.
Yeah, and the coolest thing is whenever I went to his house to get on the bucket machine, he told me you need some spurs to ride, and he's like, I'm gonna give you these. Larry Mahan gave these to me when I was your age. He rode in them, and I rode in them, so they're yours now. And I was like, no shit.
Whoa, that's a gift, old boy.
Yeah, so I'm riding with Larry Mahan and Ty Murray spurs.
Dude, that's an honor right there.
I don't even know why he trusts me to have them. A 13-year-old kid? You fucking kidding me? There is no way I'm giving those things to a 13-year-old kid when I'm his age.
He saw something in you. He knew they'd be safe.
Yeah, and what's weird is whenever I'm riding with his spurs, right after Larry Mahan died, I went to a rodeo, and it was weird. It was almost like he was riding with me. It's weird.
No, that's awesome, but that's part of the legend, and that's part of how these things get moved from generation to generation. You know what I mean? That's what's so lovable about things like rodeo that are multi-generational. Obviously we see it in your family, but then when you see it just continue on through others that are just good friends and heroes, you got to love and respect it.
Yeah, it's an honor, that's for sure.
Yeah, so a couple of things that kind of so obviously we got to bring up the fine stuff. I didn't want it to define the discussion, but what I do want to bring up about it is maybe in a little different light than you've talked about it in other formats is how expressing your, because I thought like that was totally overdone. Like when I was hearing you talk about what you got fined, and I'm like, man, I got to go back and watch this, and I'm like, oh, because he mouthed fuck. Like, just old boy had a good ride and just wanted to know what the fuck can I do more for you guys. Like, how is this like breaking what rodeo's about? You know what I mean? Like, but how you take something like that, because when you look at what it did, one, it got your name out more and more. Your social really had a huge impact afterwards, and it just drove home the fact of I'm my own guy. Like I'm gonna operate at this same passion and this same love for what I'm doing and same desire, and because a lot of times that's where people tuck tail. Some publicist gives you some bullshit to put on your account, but you're just like, nah, man, like this is who I am, and I look at it as that's only gonna grow your following by people that you truly want following. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I mean, like, let me ask you this: what's the first thing you think of when you think of Nolan Ryan?
Oh, well, I think he's the baddest dude around, but you also remember him just punching the shit out of Robin Ventura.
Out of all the records, everything.
Yeah.
You remember that?
It comes
you
up.
got it. It's just whenever I did it, it was a spiraling effect of me. I just came off 2 broken feet. I was in a wheelchair for a fucking month. I couldn't walk, and I work literally as hard as I possibly can. I was swimming in a pool with pretty much no feet for cardio. And, I get to the finals and I'm riding really good for the situation. And, I have some rides I definitely think I should place, probably not win. That horse that I got on, I've been 88 and 91 and a half on, and then I go to the finals, make the same ride, same trip, same everything, and I'm at 84 points. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm tired because I was getting fucked all the week, and I was like tired of it. I'm like, if I'm just gonna keep not winning anything, I might as well just say fuck, because I'm tired of this shit. And so I got off and I said it. I said, "What the fuck do you want from me?" And I looked up to my dad, and my dad was fuming, pissed off at this judge. And I was like, "If my dad's pissed off, we're fucking ride or die. If we're going down, we're going down together." So I was just like. I looked at the judge and I was like, "What the fuck do you want from me?" And then I walked out of the arena and I was like, I immediately, my dad called me and he's like, your mom's crying. She's looking at things on Facebook. And I was like, well, here we go. And if we're going down, we're going down. So, things were heating up on Facebook, and I was like, my sponsors are probably going to drop me. And I was like, fuck this. If we're going to do it, let's just, keep going, and then we'll figure something out later. But, honestly, it turned out to be the best thing in the finals.
Absolutely. I
had no idea what I had done. I'm not trying to hype it up like this is the best thing I've ever done.
Right.
But, it's not the best thing I've ever done, but it's not the worst. It blew up on social media, and it made my brand a lot bigger.
Yep.
And, my sponsor stuck with me, and as long as that happened, I was cool. And I came back 2 rounds later, won a round. It's something weird to think about. The next round I placed. The next round I won. It was just maybe they needed a little calling. And it's not like I'm going to do that again just for views and clicks. But it's like, I don't know.
No,
it happened, and it wasn't that bad. It was probably the worst night of my life, honestly, because on the car ride home, it was just me and my sister or something, and my family was freaking upset, and I was upset. Tears were running down my face. 18-year-old kid crying. It wasn't cool. It pissed me off. I showed up the next day. I got to the hotel room that night, and I was upset, and I was just like, fuck everybody mode. I hate everybody. And, I was like, what's the most controversial thing I can do right now? What did everybody hate my dad for? Cornrows. So I went and got cornrows. And, I just wanted to show up. And everybody know that I don't fucking care. And
double down, baby.
So,
here we go.
Yeah, and I walked away with $10,000 in fines from the whole finals.
Jesus.
The cool thing is but you got to think about this. If I didn't do that, I wouldn't have met Kid Rock, because his people got in touch with my people and were like, "Hey, we saw this kid in the arena that's blowing up everywhere. We want to meet him." And so I got to go up to Kid Rock's box and meet him and hang out with him, and he's actually become a friend of ours. And that's just another thing. I mean, I wouldn't have another friendship if I didn't do it.
And that's where, and that's the way to look at things, Rocker. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be yourself, and it connected you with someone else that's just another authentic person. And Bob's just such a cool dude. I've had the honor of being his buddy now for, probably 10-ish years. We before I was with Traeger, he was trying to do this tailgate grill, and they brought me in to kind of be one of the pit masters for it. So, got to meet Bob, hang out with him. He's also really good friends with one of my buddies and a partner in Old Boy, Tim Montana. Like, and Bob's just one of the coolest, most down-to-earth, nicest guys, but you're going to know what's on his mind. If he thinks you're trying to be funny and you say a shitty joke, he's going to go, "Dude, Chad, you know that fucking wasn't funny, right?
That joke sucks." Yeah. I'm like,
Exactly. Has he ever...
I do that shit. He stuck one on me one time. We were at the finals, and I had like a badass draw, and I was all fired up about it. And we were like going out to have some drinks or something. And I was like all fired up, and I was like, "Hell yeah, like let's have some drinks." He's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" I was like, "What?" He's like, "Go to bed." And I was like, "I don't want to go to bed. I'm at bed far." And he's like, "Dude, you need to go to bed. If you have a good horse tomorrow, go to bed." I was like, "Whatever, dude." He's like, "Celebrate tomorrow." And I was like, "Whatever, dude, fine." Like, made me so uncomfortable. I was like, fuck, I thought I was just being funny.
You're like, hold on. When the rock star tells you to go to bed, it's probably all right to go to bed. Like, it's okay.
Yeah. Like, dude, you're hammered.
Yeah. Has he played the fake Rolex trick on you yet, or have you seen him play it on anybody? So all those Rolexes that he wears are all fake. They're like $20. So he'll love to take, and like, we'll have a couple of drinks. He'll be around some guys he doesn't know. And he's like, "You know what? I just don't like the way this fucking watch looks anymore." In typical Bob, like, "I don't fucking care." And he'll take it off his wrist and just throw it in the trash. And you'll start seeing guys like clamoring for this watch. Like, "I can't believe you just threw away a Sea Dweller Rolex," or whatever. He's like, "Fuck it. I got another one at the house." Blah, blah, blah. He'll like have some regret, be like, "Let me have it back," and it'll go on. But typical, just Bob busting balls, just funny shit. You know what I mean? Like,
I'd probably jump in the trash can too.
Oh, he did it at duck camp the last time he was out there with us, and it was. I think he knew me and Tim were the only one that had ever seen him do it before, so we like played along with it. And oh my God, it was hilarious. The Pardue boys were, man, I can't believe next morning. Like, he didn't even let him in on it. Like, next morning, like one of the Pardue boys comes out and he's like, "Bob, I wanted to give you your watch back. Like, I know you've been drinking last night." He's like, "That's a fucking fake, dude. Keep it and tell the story." He's like, "Oh shit, man! Like, I told all my buddies I got this real Rolex from Kid Rock." He's like, "Well, now you got even a better story, bud. Tell it."
Yeah, it's a fake Rolex. Great.
Proud sponsor of the show, Trollco Clothing. Love what the brand's about. It's all about supporting that blue-collar worker. You know them for their trademark shirt and hat, dirty hands, clean money. It's not just a slogan. It is a lifestyle. Go visit trollcoclothing.com and use my discount code, OldBoyPodcast, for 15% off.
One of my buddies actually got a fake Rolex for his wedding gift, and he found out later after all of his wedding pictures and everything. So he has a fake Rolex on in all his wedding pictures.
Oh, shit.
I mess with him all the time.
That's the ultimate gag there. I love it. Another guy that I know you're a little bit of friends with that I've crossed paths with a couple times, but hope to hang out with a little bit more. And I think the whole story is a little bit similar as far as like outlaw events that have helped raise the amount of eyeballs, and that's Co Wetzel.
Yeah.
He's a good dude. He's a fun guy.
Oh, he's the best, man. So the way I met him is he moved into my neighborhood. And note that, like, this neighborhood that we're in is like a cutting horse neighborhood, which is like, it's not rock star at all. Like, it's like they wake up at 3 a.m. They work their horses, they show their horses, anything. Well, they think they have like a good little community. Well, we move in. I just start tearing this damn neighborhood up with dirt bikes and loud ass cars and shit.
UTVs.
Oh man, ripping down the street. Well, then Co Wetzel moves in, and this dude, I mean, they've never seen anything like Co Wetzel. And then we have Taylor Sheridan, who's hosting parties all the time. Like, we have corrupted this damn neighborhood.
Hey, that sounds like a fun ass neighborhood to be in, though, old boy. That's not a bad spot.
Yeah, so I found out that he moved into Silverado, which is our neighborhood, and you know, I was like, hey man, if you ever want to go hunting, just let me know. We have a place across the road. He's like, hell yeah, let's go. So me and him go hunting, and we just kind of became friends. Went to a couple shows, and his manager Dre is one of my really good friends now, and he had a place to stay for a little bit, so he been living down in our apartments, and so I mean I've just kind of clicked with the Co-Wetzel crew, which is pretty cool. It's cool to it's cool to recognize, like, I mean, I was listening to Co-Wetzel when I was 14, 15 years old, and it's cool to see, like, if you work hard enough, like, you're the guy, like the people you look up to can become your friends if you get to their level. Which I'm not at Co-Wetzel's level at all, but I'm just on the level enough to where I can get a hold of them.
Sure. Yeah, which is just super rad. I've told this story a couple of times, but I've gotten the opportunity to cook and do videos with Ken Griffey Jr. It's like, dude, this guy idolized growing up playing baseball, but he loves the barbecue. I'm pretty good at it, and we've done some fun stuff together. He became a great friend, and it's like, dude, but if you'd have told 20-year-old Chad Ward that, I'd be like, there's no fucking way me and Ken Griffey Jr. will ever hang out later in life. No, not at all. You know what I mean? But like you said, hard work, and you get fortunate that some of these folks kind of have similar hobbies to what you like, and boom, it just kind of takes off. And I always tell people too, it's like, it's weird, like probably kind of like you and Co are too. Like, I'm sure y'all probably talk about music and rodeo less than anything else. Like, me and Griffey don't talk about baseball much at all unless like something really hot's going on inside of baseball. You know what I mean? And I think that's also why those guys always gravitate to you, because it's like, you're just talking to them as a friend, like, dude, how's your day? Like, what the fuck's going on? Or, oh, man, do you see this bullshit? Like, it's not about, like, oh, man, you remember that one at-bat back in 94? You know what I mean? Like, nah, dude. Just enjoy the friendship. Enjoy the company.
Yeah, my dad, if I don't answer, he thinks I'm, like, dead in a ditch or something.
Hey, my mom's the same way, so I cannot knock it on that. Like, I'm the world's worst about there. They're always like, let me know when you land from your flight. And sometimes it's 11:30 at night, and you're like, I just want to get in the Uber and get home. Well, you better believe.
I live 100 yards from my dad's house, and I'll leave their house from dinner, and he'll call me. He'll call me when I get over here. Did you make it? I'm like, yeah, I made it. It was a painful walk. I somehow survived the 100-yard walk.
I did it. I didn't get caught by a cougar or anything, Dad. No mountain lion got me.
Yeah. I got caught by a different kind of cougar. But yeah, me and Co, when me and Co hang out, we don't talk about what we do. I mean, it's like, obviously we listen to music and like we'll play guitar every once in a while, but it's not like music's a topic. Rodeo's not a topic. I mean, we just hang out. We like to talk about hunting. We like to go hunting. And we just really, hang out. It's just casual. I mean, it's nothing. Nobody really wants to talk about their job, No.
I completely agree with you. One of the things I wanted to talk about, first off, you kind of, when we were talking about the fines, you kind of hit it on a little bit. How did you fuck up both your feet before Vegas?
So I went to the St. Paul, and it was like my last rodeo. I was sitting like, third or fourth in the world, whatever. And I went to St. Paul, like obviously knew I just made my first NFR. Go to St. Paul, and I made a short round, and I was like, this is kind of my last hoorah before I go home. Like, let's party. And so, we go out, and we're in the Letterbuck room, and which is iconic for, just fucking something up in your life. And they shut it down at like 6 o'clock because everybody gets so hammered. Well, when we're walking in there, one of my buddies is like, hey, like, take it slow, and you're like, the cups are small and they go down fast, so like take it slow and just like watch a shit show happen. And I was like, all right, whatever, like that's a good plan, I'm gonna follow it.
That's never been my speed.
I never followed the plan at all. Well, they closed it at 6, and it's still like daylight out, so I was like, let's go get some more drinks. Well, we go over to a Mexican food place, get some more drinks, and then everybody goes to the bar. Everybody in there, there's a lot of people in there are like my age. Girls are like younger than I am, and they're letting all these guys in, and they don't let me in. I'm like, this is fucking bullshit, because I know everybody in here, and I'm not gonna tell you who, but there's a lot of people in there that are younger than I am, and they're like, no, we're not letting you in. And I was like, okay, whatever. Well, I was like, I could sneak in from the roof. I get up on the roof, and they catch me. I'm like, I don't want to get caught and have to deal with this. Like, it's not that far. I'll just jump off. Jumped off, and I felt both my feet snap. And I ran away, got away, and I sat down at a Dairy Queen, called my dad, and I was like, hey, what's up? And he's like, nothing, just laying in bed. What are you doing? I was like, oh, just hanging around. I was like, hey, you need to come. I was like, can you come get me? He was thinking, like, oh my God, I've always told him, like, you always tell your kids, like, you need me to come pick you up, like, just call me, whatever, I'll come pick you up. Well, he's like, hell yeah, I'll come pick you up. I was like, oh, and another thing, I can't walk. He's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, well, I ran away from the bouncers and jumped off a roof, and I think I broke both my feet. And he's like, are you fucking kidding me? And I was like, yeah, just come get me. We'll figure it out later.
We'll talk about it in the truck, Dad. I kind of need to get out of the local area.
Like, super casual conversation, which was weird. And then, he comes and loads me up. I have one boot off, and my foot is this big. And I was like, yeah, I think we need to go to the hospital. So we go to the hospital. My dad's freaking out way more than I am. And, yeah, so, I have two boots on. We drive to Boise the next morning, fly out to Fort Worth, get home. And, I immediately, whenever I get home, I just keep working out in a wheelchair. Nothing stopped. And so, because the finals was 2 months away, 2.5 months away, something like that. And I just never stopped training. So, it was never like I had downtime. And honestly, training was probably way harder in a wheelchair.
Oh, sure.
Because I was, instead of, running and doing normal cardio, I was in a pool swimming with no feet, swimming laps with no feet. So, that sucked. And so, I went into surgery and, was training 2 days later. It's just how it was.
Dude, but if you're going to be dumb, you got to be tough. You knew the finish line was ahead. You knew you had qualified. Like, you weren't going to fucking miss that opportunity. Not your rookie year. You know what I mean?
No, hell no. It was just the way it was. Like, my dad and my granddad thought no way he's making it to the finals. And, I was just telling him, hey, it's going to be all right. Like, I'm going to do it. So, we were coming up with plans to, I had lace-up boots made because I was like, if my feet aren't small enough to fit into my boots, I want to be able to wear my red boots. So we had red, white boots made with lace-ups, and, we had a deal. We had like a plastic deal to go around my foot to where if the horse fell or I got smashed in the chute, like my foot was going to be okay. We were doing so many things to make sure I was there. Mm-hmm. And, it just wasn't something I was gonna miss, and I was doing everything I could possibly do to get there. And it was never like I felt sorry for myself. Like, it wasn't like, this happened and this horse fell and I broke my foot. It was like, no, you jumped off a fucking roof like a dumbass. You're gonna pay for the consequences. Like, this is how it is. And so I stuck with that the whole time. I did this to myself. Nobody did this to me. It was all my fault. And I'm gonna pay the consequences. And I went through the pain, and I worked hard enough to where I could get to the finals still. So it was completely fine. Honestly, if I could take it back, I would.
Right. Well, and it defined more character. You know what I mean? Like it made you probably learned that you could go to a place and dig deeper than you had dug before. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And sometimes you just got to think about it like this. Sometimes you just got to have balls enough to jump off that roof.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the funny part is, as you're telling me this story, I think all the way back, and it's very similar to like spring break. We're like 19 or 20 in Daytona with a group of us, probably, none of us should be drinking. We brought a shit ton of drinks, and we've been drinking. And the cops roll up. And so some of us stay, some of us go, and my buddy Andy just takes off. Hauling ass. Got these two cops chasing him, and you can see it happening. Like, he's going down kind of that front side of the beach where you really can't tell how tall the dunes are. and he can see the cops catching up on him over his back. So he sees, and he's like, dude, screw it, I'm just going to jump off onto the beach. And that shit was about 25 feet. And we watched his ass jump. Both feet hit, and he just, whoa. And I was like, and the cop stopped just short of the cliff. The dude and I hear one of them go, don't worry, he's not going anywhere for a second. We can go down the long way and get him. I mean, he broke both of his feet, and he was not able to get up and run off. But I was like, as you were saying that, I'm like, holy hell. Okay, there's another one out there in the world. I got it.
Yeah, but I started running away, and I felt I could feel my bones snapping and popping. And luckily I had enough to drink to where I could make it about 100 yards.
That was nothing but some old bourbon and adrenaline right there to get you through that old boy.
Yeah, the old letter buckram will get you right.
Oh my gosh, that is a hell of a story. And then injury wise, you've had, I mean, as far as to keep you out any kind of time, you had a knee injury. That was 2023, wasn't it?
Knee injury was at Houston in 2022.
2022.
I came up. What happened? They call it the dashboard injury. Like when people get in a car wreck, they tear their PCLs because the dashboard comes forward and hits their knees.
Yep.
So that's pretty much what happened to me. I came off and landed straight on my knee. Ooh. And tore my PCL, which, it sucked for a long time. It's slightly coming back. I mean, it'll never be right again, but I didn't have surgery on it or anything. I just, taped my knee. Yep. So I was out for like 3 months with that. I mean, it wasn't too bad. But the one that really sucked was minor injury, but it sucks, is a separated rib.
Ooh.
And I did that at the start of July, which is like the peak rodeo season, which I've never had a July because I was either hurt or suspended. So I took 2 weeks off for my rib because I had Calgary in 2 weeks. So I was like, let's go home for 2 weeks, heal this rib, and, just go make it count at Calgary. So I go up to Calgary, and I'm injecting 10 cc's of lidocaine into my rib every time I ride, and Tylenol and Advil, which apparently if you mix the two, it's like pretty much like morphine. So I was doing that, and Banamine, which is for horses.
Yep.
And so I was a walking pharmacy at Calgary, and I walk away with the win, and I made the 2 weeks count, and that worked. I don't know if I've had really any other injuries. That's about it, really.
Yeah, I got to think that rib with trying to hold on for dear life, like, has to be like, because I mean, it's got to bother you every second that you're on that horse. I mean, god dang.
Dude, and like you got to think, like whenever you're riding, like your chest is out and they're hitting you in the back, so it's pushing that rib up.
Yeah.
Like, dude, it sucked.
Nah, for sure. Damn, that's wild. Last one. Two questions I want to hit you with. One is, obviously take Vegas, take the worlds out of it. One rodeo you wouldn't want to miss.
Fort Worth.
Fort Worth.
Yeah, that would be the one. If I missed that one, I'd be pretty upset.
Because there's so many good ones. Like, for me, like, being a barbecue guy, like, Houston's a really unique one. Because, like, Houston, like, just what that rodeo is, like, even outside of the rodeoing, like, the 17 nights of just kick-ass music, one of the largest barbecue competitions, in the country going on at the same time, like, it's crazy. San Antonio, they also have a huge barbecue contest that goes with that rodeo. And it seems like over the years, it's gotten a little bit more and more street cred. And then, like, Calgary's another one. Like, Calgary's always been on my bucket list, and now that I'm interviewing enough of you guys, I've got to come up and do it and check it out.
Yeah, Calgary, Fort Worth and Calgary. Fort Worth's my favorite winter rodeo, and Calgary is probably my favorite summer rodeo. I had to miss Calgary last year because some bullshit happened, and I got suspended. But, yeah, Fort Worth and Calgary are two I wouldn't want to miss. Awesome. Mainly because I've won them both.
Hey, dude, always nice to go back and repeat, baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't even get to defend my title.
Yeah, fucking suspensions.
Yeah, 30 days, my ass. I took all of July out. Hey, but I did go party with Kid Rock.
Hey,
July, so, I mean,
make the most of that suspension, right? Old boy?
Yeah. Whenever I found out I got suspended, I was like, Dad, let's go to Nashville. Fuck it. He's like, all right, load up. Let's go.
I love it. That's so damn cool. And then last question, then we'll wrap it up, is Now that we spent an hour together, got to chit chat a little bit. You got one or two old boys that you'd recommend I have on and chit chat with?
You'd probably like talking to Lefty Holman.
Okay.
I don't know. Nobody else likes me.
Oh fuck, I love you, dude. Let's go.
I'm trying to think who else is like funny as shit. You ought to call Dawson Hay. He's hilarious.
Okay.
Right.
But man, dude, I have enjoyed the hell out of the time, Rocker. This has been a fun discussion. I was hoping it would be as fun as it was, and it definitely is, man. And like I said in the intro, dude, I love your spirit. I love what you're doing. I think you're bringing so many new eyes, not only to you and how you're living your life, but to the bareback riding and rodeo in general, man. And I would just say keep up the good work, old boy. But before we wrap it up, I want to let you hit any brands or anywhere you want to send folks. Feel free to do that.
Thank you, man. Yeah, just shout out to my sponsors, Boot Barn, Bucked Up, Capri Campers, and thank y'all for everything you do. They're great companies. Awesome,
and you're back in a damn fine young man. So, Rocker, like I said, brother, keep being you, and appreciate everything. Thanks for making the time, and we'll talk to you soon. And for you guys, thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did, and we'll catch you to the next one. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Old Boy Podcast. Please subscribe, like, set your notifications, whatever you got to do to make sure you're getting the latest episodes. Also, feel free to go back, whether it be YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Get some of the past episodes, check those out, and always feel free to check out our socials, Old Boy Podcast. Thank you so much.